Mel. Hello.
And Lee's out as well.
Can you tell us what your motivations are for attending the march today?
Motivations are to highlight Islamic ideology, how it propagates the killing of anyone that actually turns away from it, as I have. So my purpose is here to speak about the troubles that we face once we turn away from this ideology that we were brought up into. I got 3 friends, for example, that were almost killed in this country for turning away from Islam. And the agenda is to bring this issue to the attention, to the forefront of the British people, and also talk about men from my community that raped white girls in 78 towns across Britain. Men from my community that deliberately targeted white girls to torture and rape them from the ages of 11 and 18. Why is it that the groups here that are actually standing up against that are called, racist, and yet men from my community that deliberately targeted white girls and raped them are not called racist? This is the stupidity of the far left, right? I can't see any of them standing up for our rights to turn away from Islam, and yet they're calling this group racist. It's absurd. So this is why it's important for people like myself to come along here and defend the white people from these stupid accusations of far-right racist people. And they're not. So they can't argue that point against us. So this is why I'm trying to encourage more people who have turned away from Islam to come and speak up, to expose what's in Islam, what they teach, what their agenda is. Their agenda is to Islamify the UK. That's the agenda of my communities. And I'm here to challenge my communities as well on their racist behaviour to the whites. We are taught, right, white trash this, white trash that, white slags, white this and white that. That is racism. This isn't. This is standing up to racism. And I'm, for one, right, who will stand up for any kind of racism, whether it's from the white people towards my communities or my communities against the whites. That's what I'm here for.
What would you say to other ex-Muslims that are thinking of getting involved in these marches?
Sorry, say that again?
What would you say to other ex-Muslims that are thinking of getting involved in these marches?
I think it's important, right, more of us start speaking out, because what's happening at the moment, you've got thousands who have turned away from Islam that are having to move out of their areas for the fear of being attacked and killed. And you've still got thousands who actually live within the community that do not follow this ideology, who are atheists, but they're too afraid to speak out because they tend to lose everything, as I have. I haven't spoken to my family, don't speak to me, for about 28 years. I got 2 brothers who are into fraud, drug dealing with plenty of money, and they're trying to tell me that I am on the wrong path. And I think it's important that I encourage more people within that community to step out and speak out, because it's the only way that we can address the issues of my community. And people say, oh, every religion has its problems. That's true, but when you've got an ideology, Islamic ideology is the only ideology that wants to rule by force. That's the issue. And the reasons I have turned away from Islam, because I'm not prepared to follow a man who went with a 9-year-old child when he was about 54. I'm not prepared to follow a man who anything he wanted, he says Allah said he could have it. To me, Islam is false. It's a man-made religion. That's why I left it, and that's why millions around the world are leaving it as well. If it was free in places like Afghanistan, Arabia, Iraq, if it was free to leave Islam, Islam would collapse. It won't even stand. It only exists by force and fear.
And what would you say to those Muslims that are still practicing but recognise the issues and are thinking of getting involved but are worried that people who march against this kind of thing are a bit bigoted and racist? What would you say your experiences have been?
Racist? You mean here? I mean, at the end of the day, I have lived amongst the white people for the past 28 years. Not once have I had any issues with them. Not once. If anything, the racism in our communities and the communities I'm from, the Pakistani communities, racism there exists more against the whites than the whites against my communities. So that argument is silly and it's false. And this is what I want to see. My community, right, men from my community or the women, are quick to play the race card. They're quick to play, you know, the victim card. But what about us? What about when we turn away from Islam and you attack us? You know, why isn't that being spoken about? So this is what I'm trying to expose. Not only that, rape within my community is quite, you know, often. For example, the husband has the right to rape his wife, and that happens because
and he's instructed to beat her as well, isn't he? He's instructed to beat her as well, isn't he? In certain parts of the Quran, are encouraged. It's allowed. It's permitted.
Of course it is. I mean, this is the hidden issue that's in my community. I met a girl, for example, and her brother raped her twice. He raped her twice. For her parents, honor is more important. Honor and shame is more important than exposing the rape. Right, and this happens. It's not isolated. It happens all the time, and the outsiders need to know what's happening in our communities, because this issue needs to be exposed and spoken about, and my community has to be named and shamed. So, I don't know.
I agree. I think you've made some good points. Thanks for speaking to us. It's nice to meet you eventually as well. Finally.
No worries. That's John, by the way. Have you spoken to him?
Not yet. We'll do in a bit.